Hello everyone, this is Andrew Rochford, host of the Rochford Files on YouTube and additional live streams on Twitch as well. And for today's video, this will be about Will Smith, who just had a big GQ article come out, but while a lot of other people are focusing on the parts with Jada, I will be focusing on a different part of that article, as we'll about to touch on right now. The actor told GQ, this will be focusing on his statements and thoughts on Black Lives Matter and Defund the Police, as shown here in a tweet shared by Huffington Post. Will Smith says the worldwide reckoning with racism that occurred in the aftermath of George Floyd's death has been mostly positive, but he thinks it could use better branding. The entire world was in lockdown. Watch what happened to George Floyd, and stood up with one voice and said, "We see it, we agree." Smith told GQ magazine in a profile published Monday that never happened before, and with that, the opportunities are unlike they've ever been. Then we'll go a bit further down. Still, Smith worries Black Americans could be making more of this moment. I just want to encourage Black Americans to take the acknowledgement and seize upon the present global opportunities. I would just like us to argue less about certain things and pay attention to the big right. Smith, who has spoken in the past about his own experiences with police racism, said he thinks terms like defund the police and critical race theory could use different language to make them better understood to people outside of the community. Abolish the police, defund the police. I would love if we could just say defund the bad police. It's almost like I want, as Black Americans, for us to change our marketing for the position we're in. So critical race theory is called truth theory, Smith said. The pendulum is swinging in our direction beautifully, but there is a certain community that will most capitalize on the moment for the future of Black Americans without discounting the difficulty and the pain and the emotion. This is a difficult area to discuss. I feel like the simplicity of Black Lives Matter was perfect. Anyone who tries to debate Black Lives Matter looks ridiculous. So when I talk about the marketing of our ideas, Black Lives Matter was perfection. By comparison, he argued, defund the police doesn't get it done, no matter how good the ideas are. Yeah, and I'm not saying we shouldn't defund the police. I'm saying just don't say it, because then people who help you won't. Will Smith literally lives by the mantra of not cussing in his raps, because all he is doing right there is trying to water down the demands that the activists of Black Lives Matter last summer made part of their platform when it came to defund the police, and the fact that by and large no leader really wanted to take it and run on it, so to speak, outside of Cori Bush and her second attempt to get into the House seat in St. Louis. So let's get into this next part. Let's address the Black Lives Matter first. If anyone was paying attention to what was going on last summer during the George Floyd protest, you would see that corporations were hopping all over that message of Black Lives Matter. And you know why? Because it was easy to capitalize on for the capitalist class. Not only that, it was also an extremely easy message to co-opt. And just like that, Will Smith, when it comes to the issue of defund the police, it's clear that he is watering down the message from a place of privilege, because when you're still hung up on bad police at this point, you're not seeing the bigger picture here. And that's the whole fucking system is corrupt. And if you continue to focus on trying to only get rid of the bad ones, then you're not gonna solve the problem. It's just like, even though the bad apple analogy is often what's used, I think a better term for this is trying to go through a bad package of blueberries and just try to pick out the bad ones. And as someone who used to work in produce, trying to only pick out the bad blueberries, especially when it's not extremely early in the process of the blueberries going bad, is extremely hard and a very unfruitful battle. So that's why when you listen to liberal elites like Will Smith, you're never going to get anywhere on this. And what we've also learned is that defund the police was the compromise, and that too many people just flat out do not understand the concept of working the Overton window. I mean, come on. We would probably be in a spot where more people will be receptive to defunding the police if what they heard a lot more was abolishing the police. And it's the type of lack of understanding of using the leverage of the Overton window that it's going to make it harder to achieve pulling this country back towards the left. Because what Will Smith is doing right here, right now, is he's performing the so-called ratchet effect, which means he's part of the liberal class, which is making sure to play their role in blocking movement to the left, while conservatives pull the country further to the right. And as I said before, you know why watering down messaging is stupid as fuck? It's because the more watered down your messaging is, the easier it is to get co-opted. With any time that people want to shift this back to reform, it's clear that they're just deeply unserious, and they're also the people who will not be fully on board with your revolution, liberation, so to speak. These are always the people that you can say, I agree with the idea, I just don't agree with the method of achieving it. And that's what Will Smith is showing himself to be right now, because outside of when he's in the inner cities, he is not connected to the struggles that the average Black American and other working class Americans have, and that's living in major cities where the police suck up funding that would be useful for mental health, for them to get better public education in an American society that wants to force more and more people into going privatized education. And when it comes to the last point here is, when it comes to watering down the message, it's a dumb argument, because I know that when it comes to reform, when you just say that, that still doesn't help me understand what your reform means. In the same way that you can argue that with defund or abolish to some degrees, just saying reform doesn't clear up the messaging any more than your more stronger, more aggressive demands. And that right there is why we cannot let people like Will Smith, Barack Obama, Al Sharpton, and any of these other liberal Hollywood elites control the discourse of defund the police, because it has actually made quite a bit of good progress, especially since last summer. And a couple of great people to follow for arguments on that front is Nick Cruz, the Fred Hampton leftist, and the rapper Awkward, because they're two of the people part of the 10 Demands, a group that is working towards police abolition. And those are the people who are actually trying to pull this issue in the right direction and not obstruct and make sure that nothing ever gets done, and make privileged liberals feel comfortable with their fuzzy propaganda that you get from people like Will Smith.